mute this damn.
Okay, looks like we're live, Steve, and we've got a full-on list of things to discuss with all the announcements coming out today.
We do. It's been a busy day. I see us up there.
Steve just getting his end sorted out, so to speak. Who's with us today on the call? I'm just taking a look here. We've got Rachel Roberts. How are you, Rachel? Andrew Jamison. Ken.
Yeah. Why is my
What was that, Ken, about my bed being filmed before the bed was trimmed? Hey, Gary, Debbie, good to see you all here. Ken, I think Steve might be keen to pull you into the live stream later on to have a discussion around HoloLens, mixed reality, those type of things. Are you keen? Hey, Scott, welcome.
Yeah, but why aren't all these people watching Inspire? Nothing inspiring?
Yeah. Okay, so if you're not aware, Microsoft Inspire, of course, kicked off early hours of my morning this morning, and there's been a bunch of ISV announcements. If you haven't heard, the Common Data Service no longer exists. CDS is dead. It is gone. Damn it! I should have said that a while ago. Long live Dataflex. Dataflex and Dataflex Pro are the new terminology to replace CDS and CDS Lite.
Yeah, so there's about 30 of us so far that are in the private preview for this, and I'm assuming it'll go public preview next, and then it will go GA. But lately they've been doing those things in pretty compressed timelines, you know what I mean? So Dataflex is essentially PowerApps baked into Teams. The maker experiences within Teams, the whole thing is designed strictly for making apps that live within Microsoft Teams.
Mm-hmm.
And Dataflex is a subset of Dataflex Pro, which is what we know as Common Data Service, or have known as Common Data Service,
mm-hmm.
Which is the full, model-driven, the full everything that we've all been building our stuff on still exists. That's not going away. That's going to be Dataflex Pro. But they've and I think we might have even hinted about or been talking about this idea of CDS Lite that was floated around a little bit, CDS Lite. Well, that was what they were earlier talking about, is what's now this. So CDS Lite was going to be this subset of the Common Data Service for rapid citizen app development within Teams, because clearly Microsoft feels like Teams is the future. I mean, the desktop of the future is going to be Teams in their mind, if they've got anything to say about it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great hedge when you think about if they can actually get Teams to take over the desktop. I mean, like Outlook, lived on everybody's desktop forever. You couldn't get rid of Outlook. It just lived on the desktop. But all it was email, right? A few other little nits and gnats. But if you can get Teams to take over the real estate that Outlook has had forever, and then you've got this app development platform baked right into it. I mean, that's some serious problems for people like Salesforce, and like a whole lot of other people. I would have to think. And clearly, I've always looked at you got the product name, and then you got the product name with some sort of a suffix.
Yeah.
Right. The product name is the main product, and the suffix is for something else, right? And so we had Common Data Service, that was the product name. And then we had this idea of a CDS Lite.
Yep.
Well, now they flipped the script on that, right? So So the product that's been launched for Teams, specifically for Teams, is Dataflex.
Yep.
That's the product. The suffixed version, Dataflex Pro,
is Common Data Service. It's a replacement of CDS, right?
Yeah. So you can clearly see they didn't go with Dataflex and Dataflex Lite.
Yeah.
right? They could have went Dataflex Lite for Teams, and Dataflex was the product that we've all been working on. They kind of flipped that script a little bit.
Yeah. But isn't it because that nobody wants to be on the light version? It's kind of like, you're either on it or you're on pro. Like it's kind of like a step up. And so I'm wondering if that's their thinking rather than going, it's a light and then there's the standard. They're saying it's the standard and then there's the pro.
It could well be. I'm also thinking it could be that they're thinking that the biggest growth of the future of this whole thing is going to be within Teams.
Yeah.
And that if we're going to be growing this, if the Teams is going to be the biggest thing out there, we don't want to have any suffixes on it. It just Teams uses Dataflex, period.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Scott's asking if the product is changing. No, the product is not changing. It's a name change, but there's some more name changes going on.
But here's something interesting in this. If you Google Dataflex right now, it's a trademark to another company.
Yeah, there's a company out there called Datacom or something like that. I can't remember the name of them, but actually a low-code development.
It's called
platform.
Data Access Worldwide.
Yeah, Data Access. They're actually out of Florida here.
Yeah.
And they are a low-code enterprise app development built on SQL. I mean, it sounds just like Common Data Service to me.
Yeah.
So I'm curious if we're going to hear somewhere about an acquisition, because I mean, they just.
Well, this is what it says. Their tagline is need to deliver business applications faster. It's,
Yeah.
the framework, tools, and components to make development faster. Like, did Microsoft buy this company?
I think we may be hearing an acquisition here as part of the stuff going on, because I mean, they've gotten their ass burnt a few times by using some names without checking. This is a pretty simple check to look up Dataflex. It pops up the company,
Took me a second.
a registered trademark that is in the same damn business. So I mean, this company would turn around and sue the crap out of Microsoft.
Exactly.
So they had to. They obviously had to have at least gotten permission. Why would someone give them permission, without buying them? So I think they probably bought this company. I think that's what we're going to hear. I'm surprised we haven't heard it yet, but
yeah, I'm just jumping to the list of mergers and acquisitions of Microsoft, and I'm just whipping down through the list there. Acquisitions, seeing if I can find as in like the most recent ones have been on there. CyberX was the most recent, which we talked about last week.
Yeah, I don't know how. I mean, this one probably happened pretty quickly.
June the 22nd.
Yeah.
Okay, carry on. What were you gonna say?
So there'll be some more name changes. Not so much product, but concepts. We're going to be moving away from the term entity.
Okay.
We're moving back to table. Yeah. Apparently.
Wow, I did not know that. Far out.
Yeah, so think about the documentation challenges with Common Data Service, CDS, entity. They're also getting rid of the, are they switching field to attribute or attribute to field or field to column, or maybe it's column? Or changes something. It sounds like they're trying to move this over to more traditional historical database terminology.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Because I think they've confused too many people by making up new words for things.
Wow. So we're going down to field, rows, columns, and tables. Is that what we're going back to?
Yep, exactly. That's what all this stuff's going to be called. So.
Wow. I didn't like. I noticed in Ryan Cunningham's tweets this morning, he had been talking a lot about table this, table that, and I was like, okay, but I didn't realize that that's actually a deliberate idea.
So part of the explanation for the name change was confusion, and supposedly they tested this name with customers and customers liked it, but these are the same customers. Remember, they were going to change solutions to projects.
Yeah.
Because they tested it with customers, and
Like,
they said
how
part of
does that test go? Hey, Bob, how are you? What do you think of the word Dataflex? Yeah, I like it. Good. Cheers, Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep, we had a customer that said they loved it.
Yeah. Or how about this one? Hey, Bob, when you're building a project in CRM, do you think you'd want to call it project or solution?
Oh, it's a project I'm working on. It's obviously a project.
Exactly. They're kind of leading the answer. Well, supposedly there's been some confusion. I agree, there has been, between the common data service and the common data model. People have struggled with the difference between those two, in spite of me writing 50 blogs explaining it and everybody else
myself. Yeah.
Yep. But still there's confusion, particularly amongst customers. So that was another, because the common data model is not dying. That term is going to live on, because that's something else. But the service itself, the other thing is,
but look, how quickly could they solve that? The common data schema. Schema is a database term that we all know doesn't mean that it exists. It's an explaining a concept of something, correct? What?
We may get back to schema, because we're going back to database terminology on everything else. We may get back there as well too.
Yeah.
Because it's funny, because they describe the common data model as the schema. So they're kind of mixing the two words together there.
Exactly. Why don't we just call it a schema? And I think that would remove a lot of confusion, because that word model and, the only differences between the word model and service is what created a lot of that confusion.
Well, I think the other thing that created some confusion was this idea of the term common. And a lot of us out there talking about, you have a common database, right? Across your applications, you're eliminating data silos because it's a common database. Well, but in the meantime, they're talking about spinning up, 50 different environments for 50 different things. So they've kind of gone the opposite of a common data repository.
Yeah. Why don't we call it something like the universal schema, or the base schema, or the general schema? Any of those kind of things would be.
Yeah, or Dataflex.
Yeah.
So they're going with Dataflex.
They're not going with the Dataflex model, are they?
I don't know what they're going to end up. I mean, they haven't said anything about changing the name of the common data model. It'll just run on top of Dataflex Pro.
Yeah.
So interesting. It's funny, because in the first, there were two calls on this with MVPs last week. One was actually yesterday, and then one late last week. And the one late last week, of course, the first reaction everybody had was another name change. I hate the name. Why are we changing the name? And they said, well, maybe we'll have another call then to specifically discuss it. And I'm thinking, why bother? This thing's out there. This thing is, they don't change these names. Once they're out there, they'll live with it. Art wants to know, what is missing from Dataflex versus CDS? So Dataflex Pro is what we know right now as CDS.
Yep.
Dataflex is a subset which has been designed specifically for teams. So Dataflex as a product isn't used for anything other than building apps within teams. Interesting that they think that's going to be the big enough business to dedicate,
So here's Ryan. Yeah. Here's Ryan's term. He said, this is a big deal. The whole PowerApps experience, from data to deployment, entirely inside of Teams. Making it possible is Microsoft Dataflex, the essential capabilities of CDS, with the Excel-like interface included with Teams out of the box. But I don't even know why he said essential capabilities of CDS, because we know that should have really said Dataflex Pro.
Well, it's the essential capabilities because, for example, right now we can't do model-driven apps in Teams.
Yeah,
it's all Canvas, right? It's Canvas over top of what we used to know as the common data service. So it's relational, but it is Canvas apps at the moment. And in the demo, they were showing something that looked an awful lot like SharePoint lists, but clearly as relational, this is much more powerful than a SharePoint list, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I made some comment in the comments about I think I said SharePoint is dead. And a couple of them said something along the lines of no comment, no comment. So clearly, I think that this Dataflex is going to go straight after SharePoint, particularly if you think that they want Teams to be the desktop, not SharePoint on your desktop, not
Yeah, yeah,
Outlook. They
yeah.
want Teams to be the desktop, and this is the things that they're talking about for building apps and building lists and things like that within Teams is Dataflex, and it ain't SharePoint.
Yeah, yeah. So Art's asking again about then what did they remove from the Pro version? It's not so much what they removed, it's what they haven't put in.
Yeah, I mean,
You know,
again,
as in with that experience.
Yeah, Dataflex is a subset of CDS of capabilities that will work inside of Teams, because there's some things that won't work inside of Teams. For example,
So is it more the UI in this respect? So is it more
for example, classic workflows. Classic workflows are not going to work inside of Teams.
Gotcha.
They'll
Yeah.
They'll work in Dataflex Pro model-driven apps you would build. You know,
Yep.
Classic workflows aren't going away anytime soon. Plugins aren't going away anytime soon, but those things are not going to work within the Teams client.
Yeah.
So those features are not part of the Teams client. There's some other things. For example, you can only have one environment for a team. Of course, in CDS Pro, you can have as many environments as you want. The cost for Dataflex is included as part of Teams for use within Teams.
Yeah.
So far as capacity, they don't seem to be using it's up to 1 million rows. So I don't know how they're calculating that as a size, but they're saying up to 1 million rows. So you can build 1 million row relational table with an app capability inside of Teams.
So will this mean that if let's say at ForceWorks, you invite me to your Teams environment, does that mean I would have now access to those apps within that environment if like that's in the team I'm in with you?
That was part of the discussion, because I think some people are thinking, probably like you are too, is maybe this gets us around some portal limitations and licensing issues and things like that. Just invite customers to my team and build stuff in there. And they were kind of vague. They were saying that they're still unpacking that.
Well, look how quickly I jumped to that way of thinking. Was a pretty quick jump. I think customers are going to be doing the same thing, right?
Well, everybody does, right? I mean, as soon as you start looking at something that's complex to license or expensive, you start looking at anything that pops up as whether it's a way to get around it or not. And I don't know that this is yet. They were saying that, yeah, you could certainly invite guest users to your team and they can make use of these applications as guest users.
Yeah.
But, these are the technical people talking about what can be done. These aren't the licensing people going, oh, shit.
Oh, yeah. We've just created a backdoor, into everything.
Exactly. Those unintended consequences that'll come out as we go to seek clarification, just like they did with the $10 pass. Every time we ask for clarification on something that's vague, they end up coming down with the tighter version of a clarification. We'll have the same thing, I'm sure, happen with that.
Yeah. Hey, in Teams, have you found a way to get rid of accounts that you've been invited to? I've got a mile long of Teams that I've been invited to in other companies. And like a bunch of these I haven't even accepted, but they're still all showing there as teams that I can join. And I'm like, now I'm having to scroll through this massive list, of Microsoft, ForceWorks, blah, 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 all these different ones. There doesn't seem to be a mechanism to go, you know what? Decline. I'm not interested in that, or unsubscribe or leave.
I got one that I was invited to by an ISV years ago, and we collaborate on some little thing, and then went our separate ways. And I can't get it off my list either. I can't get into it
Yeah.
but nor can I remove it because I don't have access. It says I would need to log in, to their domain to remove
And
myself, and I can't get in their domain to remove
I
myself,
know.
of course. So it does seem like there ought to be some sort of a trash can button to just say, you know what, I just
Yeah,
want to get rid of this.
all it needs is a little X, right? In the at the end of that row, or if you're on a mobile device, swipe right or something and hit the delete button. But I don't want to be in it. And it's just
So
clogging up my
Danny's
system.
asking about Microsoft Fluid. So I did see something earlier today, and let me see where I posted. I think I threw it up in our Slack channel about something that looked a lot like, where was it? Smart information tracking. Let me pull this link up and throw it in the chat. This to me looked, and this came out a little while ago, back on 5/19 of 2020.
Yeah.
And it was the first disclosure of Microsoft lists. Well, this demo and this stuff looks an awful lot like what they just showed us the past couple of days of Dataflex. And let me see if I can post this in the chat as soon as I figure out where the hell the chat is.
Okay, so according to Wikipedia, Fluid is a computer framework for real-time collaboration across applications. Microsoft first demonstrated the software at Build conference in May 2019 as a framework that allow real-time collaboration between users in Office of the web online Office suite. It replaces a concept of document with a cloud address and real-time collaboration on that. So that Fluid reference there sounds much more like, jointly updating a Word document online, multi-editing. That's that they announced at Build May 2019.
So this thing I just posted, this link I just posted in the YouTube chat is the announcement for Microsoft Lists, whatever the hell that is.
So that Microsoft Lists is a replacement of to-do, tasks, all that kind of stuff in Outlook, isn't it?
Well, in looking at the screenshots, this looks eerily similar to what I just saw the last few days on Dataflex within Teams.
Wow.
So
wow. It's just so much. It's just getting more confusing in this respect.
Yeah. And I'll also throw in the chat for everyone who didn't get to it, the actual announcement of Dataflex that went out today from Charles Lamanna introducing Dataflex, which I still don't think he gets into super detail, but I'll bet if you play that video and watch, you're going to see some real similarities between that and Microsoft Lists.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's going to be more overlapping stuff. Yeah, as a matter of fact, just scrolling up, I'm looking at screenshots that look almost the same.
Interesting, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
So we're saying that Microsoft Lists and Dataflex look pretty similar.
I'm saying that.
Yeah. Yeah, but now I'm just saying that on Twitter.
Oh.
and asking a question.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, I mean, at least they share some design themes. Oh, Ken sent you a message on how to get out of a Teams organization.
Oh, no way. Is it possible, Ken?
I don't know. Maybe the message he sent you is there's no fucking way to do it. Which would just be cruel.
Yes, agreed. Thank you, Ken. I'll check that out. It's obviously not very clear, but if there's a way to do it, that would be great. A bit of tidy up. Do Microsoft direction if there are things like listen to dos? Do Microsoft have direction if there is things the list and to do? Yeah, I don't know. Don't understand that
kind of high level here on Charles' announcement, but not getting into some of the details that I know Art was looking for, although frankly, I think some of those are still figuring out. Yeah, okay. It reminds me of like the the app passes when they came out and trying to figure out what can you do and what can't you do? What are the limits that we're going to put on this? And we're kind of at that point now with this Data Flex versus Data Flex Pro, and what kind of limits and what I think they got a few just for getting this thing launched limits, but I think we'll probably learn more about what's included, what isn't. I know I saw, but I don't know if that's public. I saw some checklist, side by side features that are included in Dataflex and Dataflex Pro. I don't know if any of these other links in here take you to anything more.
Well, I wonder if, because Microsoft's conference is on this week, some of those more detailed sessions might show some of that.
Yeah, probably. Well, the good thing is they're telling customers to contact a partner for help with this stuff that we don't know anything about.
This is how they get their partners to move forward with their technology, right? Tell the customers your partners are up to speed. The customer hears from a customer, and goes, shit, I better learn this stuff.
Where is this? Yeah, it's just surprising how some of that stuff looks very much like the Microsoft lists stuff. At least it does to me.
Yeah.
So they got. I'm hoping that they're converging some of these things rather than just creating more duplicate crap.
Yeah. I don't know if someone on this call's just responded to my tweet that I asked that, because someone just said busted, and I don't know if it's a Microsoft employee with a wink smiley face.
Oh, about the
is Microsoft Lists now Microsoft Dataflex?
Yeah. So now you want to be brave again? Send out SharePoint is dead.
I'm going to. Just give me a second. Actually, I'll do that one now. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you just got renewed, and we're not SharePoint.
Yeah.
We're not SharePoint MVPs anyway. We don't give a shit.
Okay, SharePoint is dead. Long live
Dataflex.
Long live Dataflex. SharePoint is dead. Long live Dataflex. Boom. Tweet. Get that one out there. That'll stir some shit. So
yeah, tables.
So that guy that responded is Microsoft that said busted.
Oh yeah, who was it?
A guy called Pavel Verseer, Pavelvecer. And in his bio, it says Microsoft Power Platform and my two sons are the most. Everything that I share here, oh no, it might not be. He's from Prague. It might not be. I might have got that wrong. Oh! Oh, I don't know if I should say this on here because I've been private messaged by an FTE. I better not say what's just been private messaged me on Twitter.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no, it's not bad. It's just a clarification of my SharePoint is dead. Long live Dataflex. Somebody's, yeah. Interesting. We got some good times ahead. I mean, Microsoft obviously can see that the whole low-code platform is the future.
Well, they're hell-bent to try and make it the future, that's for sure.
I think I heard a figure the other day. Now, this is where I got to be careful whether I'm saying something under NDA or not, eh? As in, this was a private conversation with an executive at Microsoft. But the amount of revenue now being generated by BizApps is pretty substantial.
Yeah.
It's a good size.
Well, some of that, obviously has been growth, and some of that has been pulling things under that umbrella.
Yeah.
They've pulled some things under that umbrella that weren't there before.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the product is growing. I find it hard to imagine that it couldn't have grown a lot more if it weren't so confusing for people to understand.
Yeah.
Not just the products, what the hell they are, what they do, and how to license them. Yeah, Frank, I'm sure that's where it's coming from.
What did Frank say?
All growth from ISV Connect.
Yeah. So just speaking on that, I noticed that in the Inspire session around ISVs, they talked about how successful the Connect program's been.
Yeah, I think it's one of those, classic Microsoft, we've grown 400% since last year when we didn't exist, kind of, some of their funny math they like to use.
Yeah. But like if I start a company this year and I have one customer, right? And I add 3 other customers, man, my growth is phenomenal.
That's 400%.
Amazing, right?
It's 400%.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that sounds huge.
I think evangelists, like televangelists and stuff, have something in common with marketers. We're not lying. We're not lying. If you deconstruct the sentence, it's accurate.
I think there's something. They also have something in common with con artists.
Yeah, interesting.
So here's one more link I'll throw up here, which actually is the original link to the Common Data Service page, which has now been completely changed to all Dataflex Pro, like that's how it was to begin with.
Yeah.
In case anybody hadn't clicked on that already, but this is the link to the US page anyway for Common Data Service. They are still referring to Common Data Model up there next to Dataflex Pro in the menus. They're still referring to Common Data Model. Haven't gotten rid of that.
Yeah,
I don't think they will.
No, but I think once again, to simplify the Common Data Model, just call it a schema. Common Data Schema, if nothing else, right? Because that's what it is. I find it interesting, this whole, does that mean we are really going back to talking about tables, rows, columns, and fields? Right, which is for years is how I've always explained entities. Yep. Right, when I've been in business scenarios, I've literally gone to a whiteboard and drawn a table.
Yeah, you paraphrased it all as the tables and
columns, entities, right? So interesting. I wonder what the impact now for the broader Dynamics 365 apps play into this. Does that impact them being pulled in at some later point, or because they're all on Pro, as in Dataflex Pro, perhaps that doesn't have that impact?
So Dynamics has built their own connectors for Teams, right? The first party app group has built their own connectors for Teams. I don't know what this means for apps that were built on Common Data Service without first party and their ability to participate in Teams. I don't know if they're shutting a door here or if it just hasn't been opened yet. I remember asking about that before, about the ability to build an app that could function in Teams, and I think they said it was coming. But now my fear is that this is probably what they meant was coming. And they also said we can't do model driven yet, but it is planned to be able to do model driven through this Dataflex in Teams.
Yep.
It was probably just the low hanging fruit to be able to throw Canvas out there.
Yeah. I've just while we've been live here, put another tweet up showing that Dataflex, the link to the fact that it is a registered trademark of the data access company.
Yep.
So it's Oh, another private message on Twitter. Interesting. Wow, good times. What else have you seen kick off from a, FY, start of the FY 21 year? I heard an interesting fact from another Microsoft exec yesterday, which was Microsoft are only forecasting 6 months ahead now.
They're forecasting 6 months ahead. Forecasting what?
Well, they normally forecast everything at a 12-month on a start of a financial. And this is more due to COVID's uncertainty. They are halving how they would normally look at the future.
I mean, I think you could probably blame it on COVID, but I think that that the whole space is moving much faster now, and they're part of the reason of making it move faster, and in competition making things move. The whole technology space that we're sitting in today just moves at a speed that is significantly faster than it ever had before. And yeah, I don't think it's realistic to stick your head down for a year and say that's what we're going to do. And we certainly see these guys stick their head up, feel which way the wind is blowing on a regular basis, and make some pretty significant shifts in the direction that they think that wind is blowing.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, I think it's part of what scares enterprise customers is enterprise customers are not, I don't think, as intrigued by, the wind blowing. And it's also a little frustrating that, Microsoft is a big enough organization. They should be able to create their own wind, and not just go chasing the wind streams that are out there or made by others. It seems like they should be able to make their own wind. I think they're trying.
But listen, I used to do a presentation years ago, which was kind of like a why Microsoft. And this is what I would have. I just put a logo on screen of Lotus 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
And then I would go Excel. Right. Who survived? And then I would put in Word Perfect and Word. And then I'd put in what was the networking technology back then before NT4? What was it called? What was the original networking technology that was used in business? No. That's an operating system. It was
Novell
NetWare, right?
Yeah.
And then, Microsoft are not necessarily first person mover. They don't go after that. They understand a segment and then they go, right, there's an opportunity there. We're going to dominate that segment. And then they win. And then look, there was PlayStation out there that absolutely owned the market. And then along came Xbox. Microsoft have a traditional habit of understanding a segment and then dominating it. I mean, take Slack. Here's another case in point, Slack and Teams.
Yeah.
Microsoft didn't invent the idea, but boy, did they win. Absolutely. Well, they're winning as far as I can tell at the moment with the use of Teams everywhere. And so I don't know that, when you say create their own wind, I don't know that they necessarily jump in with the product or be the first to market with the product, but I think they play a long game with the product, although through its various names, I think they tend to, if they commit to a segment, they win.
Yeah. It's interesting. We say they, but none of the people that were around when they overtook Lotus 1, 2, 3 are still there.
No.
I mean, and the whole mindset of the company has shifted completely since most of those things happened.
But what I'm saying, do they have prevailing in their culture this idea that if they commit to a segment,
right,
they do their research? Yeah. It's not necessarily individuals as in it's individuals working within a culture, that drives these kind of outcomes.
Yeah. I mean, they haven't overtaken Amazon yet, but working on
it. In Azure.
They haven't taken over Amazon with Azure. They haven't taken over Salesforce yet. But they do. To me, it feels like a pivot. I think the prior regime before Phillips and Charles and everybody else was just maniacally focused on Salesforce. We have to beat Salesforce. We have a CRM. They have a CRM. We have to beat them, and they weren't beating them. This was back when they would make those announcements of 400%,
growth year over year, but
Yeah.
still Salesforce was growing faster. So they weren't
Yeah.
even gaining. Yeah, they were growing, but they weren't even gaining on Salesforce. And I think I think that they finally kind of got smart and said, you know what, fuck Salesforce. Let's just build something else. Let's
Yeah,
just do
yeah, yeah.
something else
Yeah.
and stop focusing on Salesforce. And now they got Salesforce chasing them with trying to do the low code. And they started chasing them around analytics and chasing them around AI and stuff like that. As soon as
Yeah.
they stopped chasing Salesforce, and started just making shit. But I think the problem is that at least Salesforce gave them a focus.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
gave them something to aspire to. We need to become this so we can beat that. And now when you remove the focus, it's like, what are we trying to be? What are all these things you keep launching and throwing out there and shooting up like fireworks? What are they all supposed to be? Who are they going after? How do I explain to a customer? Because that's the biggest problem. It boils down to, how the fuck am I going to explain to a customer in something that they can actually understand and make a decision to purchase and move forward with the product? That's at some point you have to stop long enough to be able to get a clear enough marketing message out that lasts long enough for, and I mean, we've got marketing messages that are changing before customers have even heard them.
Yeah.
Because they're way behind us. The customers
Oh,
are way
totally.
behind.
Probably 2 years, if not more. Right?
Oh, it'll be 2 years before customers will have heard of Dataflex.
Yeah. So
They'll still be calling
here's,
a common data service.
you did a podcast about a 6 weeks ago with Alyssa Taylor, and on that, towards the end, you asked her around what Microsoft are doing to address the confusion between PowerApps and PowerApps, right? And
Yep.
she said, hold fire, coming, which is Inspire, I think, is that coming. Are you thinking Dataflex is that story, or do you think all of a sudden we're going to hear about PowerApps and PowerApps Pro?
No, I think this is the story. I think this is what she was alluding to, that will
But it
eliminate
doesn't
the
address the
confusion.
word of PowerApps and the confusion around PowerApps versus PowerApps, does it?
No, I don't think. Well, I think it's given us yet another thing to be confused about. We got Dataflex and Dataflex Pro, and I think we're going to have the same challenges out there with customers, partners. We're going to have people that are building apps inside of teams with the limited make experience on Dataflex that are going to feel like, oh, I know Dataflex.
Yeah.
Just like we had them building Canvas apps on SharePoint saying, I know all the PowerApps, without having any understanding of that whole other side. Does the Dataflex Pro help us on the other side to be able to talk to people about great big business applications instead of little, widgets and list trackers?
Yeah.
I don't know. Is the IT tech savvy person in an organization going to put together a big robust application made up of a bunch of connected lists? I don't know. But kind of brings us back to access days, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It'll be
But
interesting.
it's
I've been
not so much.
ignoring the chat. I should look and see who's talking.
Yeah, I have not been looking at chat either. Sorry about that.
Megan has joined us. Hey, Megan. No. Oh, everybody's just saying hi to Megan. So
Okay.
So Megan has been doing some pretty cool stuff, by the way. I went through a lot of her Google, how to figure out Google Analytics crap, because that's one of those things that over the years for various websites, I have added to a website, gone and fucked around in the Google to try and figure out what the hell it was doing, and then ended up just stopping and giving up. And she actually has taken the time and energy to read the shit, figure out what it's supposed to do, figure out how to actually turn it on. Way more patient than I am, but much better to come back and just listen to her explain it than have to go find all that stuff. So what'd you just post up there?
So what I just posted up there is somebody that shall remain anonymous sent me this link now, which is an interview between Charles Lamanna and VentureBeats.com around Dataflex. And so that might bring a little bit more clarity to how everything is functioning up there. Microsoft, you can see there, what's that, July 21st. Yeah, so today.
That's today. Yeah, so they were embargoed. I'm sure VentureBeat was embargoed today. They're making they're obviously making a huge noise around Dataflex. They had this all embargoed, everybody quiet, not a word until today. And now they've got, they've even got third party, venture people like that were embargoed. So I'll bet there's a bunch of press releases out there.
Look at that. Look at that stat there. In April, Teams hit 7.5 million daily active users. And in May, Microsoft's Jeff Teepner told VentureBeats will even be bigger than Windows.
So doesn't Teams need to run on Windows or no?
No, it runs on my iOS.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Runs on runs on Android, runs anywhere you want.
So I guess it technically could become bigger than Windows, right?
Yeah.
It's running on all those other platforms as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's the same story here that they're telling. They're talking about, the built-in AI. They're talking about bot framework. Same story that we've been talking about. They're just talking about it now within the bounds of Teams. Like within this Teams thing, because Teams is one of those things. I don't know your experience with customers on Teams. I find that once they adopt it and start using it, it turns into one of those things they can't live without.
Yeah.
But so many of these customers, they're kind of slow to adopt. They're like, just one more tool, and you know what I mean. But once they actually get it in and start using it and get some champions, it gets real sticky real fast.
So interesting. Like coming back to New Zealand, my brother runs a holiday resort. Well, he's got a couple of them that he owns. And, COVID hits, of course, tourism gets smacked in the ass here. And what happens is that, how does he meet with his staff and everything? So I said, listen, you've got Office 365. Why don't you just use Teams? What's Teams? Now, it's kind of like every day he only lives it. Oh my gosh, I can put files, I can share, I can, didn't have a concept. Like his concept of sharing files has always been an email attachment, right?
Yeah.
And he's got this multi-million-dollar business, but it only runs around email, pretty much. Now, he doesn't even realize he's using SharePoint. He doesn't even realize he's using OneDrive for Business. He doesn't know all that. It's just for him. He's just in Teams, and everything is there, and it works. And he's now got he's the chairman of a whole part of the holiday park industry here. And of course, what are they doing now? They're running their entire part of business all on Teams. So
why did Teams succeed where Yammer failed?
Well, COVID-19. Part of it's a timing thing. I know it was gramming.
Teams was succeeding before that hit.
I think it made things easy, right? You think, how quickly was it to post or upload a file to Teams, and you not knowing that was putting it into a SharePoint location?
So listen, here we already have now confusion in the marketplace, at least as I understand it, in this VentureBeat article. And it's them kind of paraphrasing something that's not in quotes from Charles.
Yeah.
But they're saying Dataflex is built atop the Common Data Service.
Yeah.
Which used to be part of the Power Platform, but is now directly integrated into Teams. How confusing is that sentence based on what we've all been told already? First of all, Common Data Service no longer exists. Dataflex is a subset of Dataflex Pro. It's not built atop the Common Data Service.
Yeah.
And the Common Data Service didn't used to be part of the Power Platform, but is now directly integrated. And this is just, here's where it starts. We actually have an article written by a magazine where they interviewed Charles Lamanna, and then outside of his quoted things where the reporter took
they put an interpretation on it.
Put his interpretation on it is completely fucking wrong. Complete misinformation, wrong.
But you think that's released today like it's come from the horse's mouth.
Exactly. And so people are going to be reading this stuff, and it's just plain wrong information. And that's where it starts, right? Now the game of Chinese whispers begins, right?
Yeah.
Well, I read on VentureBeat
that this is built on top of the common data
yeah,
server.
yeah.
What do you mean it's gone? Can't be gone. It's built on top of it. And the Power Platform is no more. Now it's Teams. It's part of Teams.
Yeah.
Oh, annoying as hell. Annoying as hell.
Yeah, totally right.
Pop back up the chat, see if anybody else is saying anything.
Yeah, Danny says he totally understands it. What's the problem? Oh no, he says is the team's going to be renamed next.
Yeah. Well, I asked on the call the other day. I said, so how long will we be calling it Dataflex? They didn't seem to think that was funny.
Yeah.
And Megan, yeah, who obviously we know is an expert, not just on Google, but also on Forms Pro, which they recently renamed Customer Voice. Of all the things they could have picked,
Yeah.
let's deprecate a product called Voice of the Customer.
Yeah. Let's call it Customer Voice.
Let's rename a product that's just getting understood by customers of what the fuck it is to something very similar to something we recently deprecated. See if that confuses anybody at all.
Yeah, very, very valid, very valid. But here's one thing to keep in mind. We're in the industry, right? We live and breathe this. This is our careers. For punter A coming in and being sold the technology tomorrow, they don't have all that. They don't have that context or particularly around name changes and stuff. That doesn't mean the same thing to them because they don't have that history. So maybe it's not a big thing if you're going, we want to clear the way going forward. The problem is, as soon as that way gets cleared, it seems as that's time to rename it and come up with a new naming convention.
Yeah, I talked to a lot of, because we're still partner practice, right? We're building and have customers, and so I talked to lots of customers on a pretty regular basis about stuff, and it's interesting the misunderstandings they come in with, and then I have to decide if I'm going to completely blow their mind out of the water by trying to clarify all of these nits and gnats, or just nod my head with them and say, yep, we can do that for you. And then, just go forward and solve their problem with whatever the fuck they think it is. But, they don't really know. But because there's a very real, and this happens, from being in sales as well, there's a very real possibility that a customer gets confused enough that suddenly their feet set in concrete and they don't move.
Yeah.
Because if I can't understand it, I can't buy it. I can't approve it. I can't get it approved. I can't do anything if I cannot understand what it is you're saying to me.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I definitely will sometimes just, even though what they're saying is not correct, if I can get the sense that they're on the right path, they're just using wrong, I'm not going to try and do anything. We're just going to roll with it. Voice of the customer. Yes, that's a form tool. Yes, whatever they want to call it, I don't care.
So shall we chuck another Chinese whisper into the mix?
What did you just say? You broke up a little.
You've heard the term Chinese whispers?
Yes.
Okay, there's another one for you that is posted. I haven't even looked at it in detail myself, but what is Microsoft Dataflex and how does it tie in with Teams from ZDNet?
Yeah, Mary Jo Foley.
Yep.
She frequently gets quotes from me. I'm surprised she didn't reach out, but she obviously had this thing pre-written and it was embargoed till today, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Microsoft's year of rebranding, anything and everything is continuing. The new brand of the week is Dataflex.
Yep. Interesting.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
She covers a common data model I see in there.
Oh, crap. I got a LinkedIn message from her asking me to comment a couple of days ago. I guess I snoozed on that one. Sorry.
Yeah, so Dataflex is really Microsoft lists on steroids by the looks. I might be quoting somebody there, but it's definitely looking that way. Tell you, it's got a bit of activity in my posts on Twitter in the last half hour.
Yeah.
Be like people have jumped straight on and saying, no, it's not listed as CDS. I know, I understand that nomenclature and it's, you know, how it's been used.
It looks like Yuka responded because she got a quote from him in there.
Yeah.
About it.
Yeah. Interesting times. This has been a fun episode with all this kind of live dump of us finding stuff out and sharing stuff.
Yeah, and even got a link to Yuka's post, which he also, of course, launched today because you knew he would have one written and sitting up his sleeve, waiting for the minute, which he did, and it's launched. So this will be a good one. Anybody wants to, he's very good at explaining technical things in a pretty good way for people to understand.
Yeah, very good, right? Very good,
and usually pretty thorough. So
yeah.
So I expect that'll be a good, a good post.
Yeah.
So now that he's written that, I'll have to go write one that's just more rants.
More rants. More counter view.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting, man. Very interesting.
Well, this will be the buzz for a little while here, and unfortunately, to be honest, I don't think it's that big a deal. No. I mean, I think that
no, it is marketing at the end of the day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, somebody had asked, one of the questions earlier in our thing was, what is this doing to the common data service and everything that we've all been building and model-driven apps and all that stuff? It doesn't do anything with that. We're still going to do all that stuff.
Business as usual.
I wasn't selling a customer a common data service anyway. I was selling customers PowerApps. So
yeah. Well, were you even selling PowerApps? You were selling a business outcome for that business that happened to use a tool set of PowerApps.
Yeah, well, the power platform, really. You know, but
the person that wants a house doesn't buy the hammer, right? They get a builder in with the hammer and the tools to build the house. And I think customers at the end of the day want an outcome, and some of them will choose not to get confused or just not understand what all the Microsoft's naming conventions are and what they're meaning. We do because we're in the game.
Here's the trick with that customer is looking for an outcome. Since they don't understand the terminology and the parts are moving on the board way too fast for them to keep up with, what they're really doing is they're trying to find a partner or a person who they believe understands it.
Yeah.
I don't have to understand any of this if I've hired a guy who I'm completely confident understands all of it.
Yeah.
Right? The challenge is that it's very difficult for any of us to stay on top of these moving pieces as well. But yes, I don't foresee anything different tomorrow in our go-to-market on what we're doing.
No.
Basically, this to me is an announcement about being able to build apps in teams.
Yeah.
Whatever technology you would have used to do that, whether it's SharePoint list, Xamarin, I don't care what the hell you might have used. WordPress, whatever the hell you use to build an app in Teams, here's another thing that you can build apps in Teams. That's kind of what I'm pulling away from this, but it doesn't change our business models or anything like that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I agree. I think customer voice was a very poor change from Forms Pro. I also didn't like, and I don't know if they changed this, but in Forms Pro, everything was called a survey. For build a new survey.
Yeah.
Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff when I think survey,
it's not survey.
I think something fairly specific. I think about a fucking survey.
Yeah. Are you going to vote Republic or Democrat type thing, right? A survey.
Yeah, but my contact us page on a website, I don't consider that to be a survey. So I don't know. I don't know. Hopefully Megan can fix those guys. I've done enough work fixing the teams on other products in the past. I'm not going to go near that one.
Yeah, my view on Forms Pro, I think it's only 75% built. I reckon there's so much more that you could make that product absolutely amazing. If you go and have a look at some of the other form tools out on the market,
I was going to say, because there's other ones out there that are amazing.
amazing. Like that really, rather than what I saw traditionally, forms are designed on a clipboard form, right? Here's 10 items in a list. When you get to that, if we've got a longer form, hey, we'll give you another page of them. Some of the latest form tools are one question on screen, nice and big, blah, 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 blah. Boom, next question. Like, and you don't know that your initial pool of 20 questions just got reduced to 3 because you said something we're not interested in, therefore, bye-bye. Thank you very much, goodbye. Like, there's much more that Forms Pro, I think, could be, apart from, great, it stores the data at the back end in the right place. In Dataflex Pro, but I think it could be so much more from a UI perspective and made to be a lot more, maybe even more CSS involved in customizing the visuals and things like that.
Microsoft gets a pass. They get a pass on a lot of things because they're Microsoft. I don't think Forms has anything on any of its competition other than it's Microsoft.
Yeah, and it fits into all other data sets and back end and single sign-ons and all those great things.
Yep. Azure AD. There you go. There's your common thread that keeps all this stuff together. But I think Microsoft gets a pass. Hey, we're after time.
Wow. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Hope you found that episode interesting.